Hello and welcome, Simon here from the Wales of Wall Street. Hope you're doing fantastic. Well, this is the first episode of the People's Crypto. Welcome aboard this session. So the idea behind this is during the week we will post on our community page, keep an eye out for that, to announce the opportunity for people to shout out the crypto assets that they want us to cover in one episode on a Saturday. And we might do it on a Friday eventually on a live stream once the studio is finished in a few weeks' time, and we can open it up to live chat as well. But for now, this is how we're going to do it. So I've got 6 crypto assets here taken from multitude of comments that were given to us on the community page, as well as Twitter and Telegram as well. So make sure you are on those platforms as well, following the Wales of Wall Street, and get involved in this. So it's an opportunity for us to learn as well. And I have by far learnt a lot looking at some of these requests, and also the format of this. So we'll spend a couple minutes talking about the project and then we'll go straight into the chart. I'll also put timestamps in here as well, so people can choose which ones they want to listen to, or listen to the whole thing, whatever you guys want to do. And also with some of these projects being quite new to me, I will very much be doing intro videos to some of these as well throughout the week or the coming weeks as we have time, especially the really good ones in here. So it's a good opportunity for us all to engage and share ideas, share thoughts, share portfolio strategies and things like that, and also bring some really cool new projects to the table. Some of these I hadn't had a clue about, so I've learned a lot, and hopefully you guys do too. So that out of the way, let's go into the first crypto asset, guys. So the first one we're looking at is Centric. Okay, currently available on PancakeSwap, Ascendex, Probit, BitGlobal, and the MEXC. So various pairings, but predominantly USDT. Currently trading approximately around this is a lot of zeros, 0.00018. Cool. So that out of the way, we'll kind of explain in a second a bit of the tokens aspect of it and what Centric is about. So Centric, very much around this kind of system of being a transparent central bank with predictable price growth. So there's 2 aspects of this project. There's the CNR, which is Rise, and CNS Swap. Okay, so CNS is what we're focusing on at this current time. So CNR is basically the currency that are created with lower volatility. So these guys are trying to essentially develop almost kind of like a stable coin, but there's a bit more to it. So we'll probably explain that in a big project video, and I think we'll probably do that during the week. But it's quite interesting how they're doing this. It's solving that price stability issue in terms of, like Bitcoin and things like this that are trying to be currencies. Because there's so much volatility, these guys are trying to do that. So rather than focus on the smart contracts and things like this, their really sole focus is to create this currency with very good stability that could one day be used as a leverage token or bridging token, as well as its own currency for the blockchain world. The CNS aspect, which is the swap token, which is a freely traded token as they see it. So this is kind of like a zero-sum currency created and destroyed on demand to farm liquidity, or form liquidity, sorry. So apparently it's pegged to the dollar and twinned with the CNR aspect as well. It's not backed by any other asset, so it's really quite a unique asset and implication this. So do go check this out. Just recently joined the Binance Smart Chain as well. So this helps them develop their program further, and also the kind of traditional aspects of not just the stability and utility, but they're looking at things like the credit, the unit accounting, the value storage, which obviously we talk about with like Bitcoin and things like this, postpone payments, measure or value, and medium of exchange. So they're looking at loads of different aspects of this. Here's the Centric Rise, the store of value, the Centric protocol utilizing the governance and the token, for example, CNS as well, to help with liquidity and all of these things. So it's really interesting. And I think it's quite new in the sense that if you got involved in this, perhaps in terms of the farming aspect and around yield farming and getting involved, you might be rewarded quite well over the next few years as this kind of thing develops. And I think it's got some legs here. I think it's really interesting. What I would like to see though is some extra more mainstream exchanges being involved in this project before I take it maybe a bit more seriously. But I see the potential, I see what it's about, and I totally get why someone has kindly thrown this one out in the comments of this. And in fact, what I shall try and do throughout this video, as well as the future ones, is perhaps bring out the opportunity to discuss who's brought these to our attention. So I have to find this one, but it was one of the comments actually within a video that we've done recently. So thank you to that person. So definitely go and check this out. Like I said, we're not going to go into massive detail. We will definitely do an intro video to some of these. They've got a 7 to 10 year roadmap, guys. So they're really bullish on what they're doing. But I think what they're trying to essentially do is similar to what the kind of like the Federal Reserve are doing or have been doing. Pegging it with the US dollar and matching it versus the consumer price index, so the CPI. So they're trying to do this in a decentralized manner and create something quite unique that will be utilized worldwide and within the infrastructure of existing blockchain and protocol as well. So really interesting to see how this develops. Let's just jump into the chart here so we can see what's going on. So what we've got here is the opportunity of some good buy points, in my opinion. I think what's interesting here is the low price. Of course, we've got to think about things like supply and demand, etc. And I'm thinking future term. But I do wonder, of course, we've got a load of nonsense back here. It looks like a big barcode. That's obviously through launch patterns and things like that. But it's a substantial amount of volume going through. But then, to be fair, the price is so low, it's not difficult probably to obtain a few million of them quite quickly. So it's certainly one for the future, the way that they're going with things. And the roadmap's really interesting. As I said, we'll cover that in a big future project video for sure in this week. But in terms of its action, of course, in my opinion, of course, being such a low price, it's quite easy to obtain some good accumulation of this. And I would suggest that it's kind of like a really good storage one for a few years' time. So I do think we've got time on this one, but don't kind of wait till it happens, as they say. It's always maybe good to get it early before adoption kicks in and full awareness does, because the roadmap does look very strong. As I mentioned, with hoping that it would come on some better exchanges. Of course, Ascendex, I do know briefly. I'm not a huge fan personally of things like PancakeSwap. I find them a bit irritating to deal with. So I would like it on a mainstream one to make it easier, but I have multiple perhaps case studies, if you like, of my own personal experience, certainly earlier this year, of having that approach of, I'll just wait till it goes on mainstream exchange, and missing out on opportunities like this, and the price just absolutely smashes through things. So I'm not anticipating this to go like to $1 or something immediately, but certainly their application of this token and with the seed NR sector as well, section as well, sorry, it is a good opportunity. So I might be considering looking at Ascendex perhaps when I've done the project video, so I've learned a bit more about it before I jump in. But I will do a bit more research, go and check out a few other videos from other people like ourselves to see what they think as well, and I'll just conclude that. So keep an eye on that video coming up. In terms of the price action, of course we've had quite a few dips because of Bitcoin and everything like this, but just to reiterate, from that high point that we see all the way up here, by the way, so that is just about a fourth of a cent. Okay, so 0.4 cents, if that makes sense. Yeah, sense. We have had a reduction of 100% to this low point here on the 8th of September. So it has had a gigantic retracement. But what's positive here is we've had that, and now we're trying to get some new stability lines here. And what's interesting, in the last 2-3 days, we have broken this barrier of approximately 0.00017. And it looks like today we might get another close above this line. So if that's the case, and we get a few days trading sideways, we might start pushing back up to this 0.0002 mark. So there's some interesting moves going on ahead here. The RSI has picked up and the MACD has switched into a bullish momentum. So like I said, you're not going to anticipate gigantic numbers here, but let's think about it rather than price. Think about it as percentage gains, because actually if you look at here, this low point that we just mentioned on the 8th of September to the point where we were pretty much around yesterday. In fact, I can just tail that up to the top point That's 100% increase within a week. So from a gains perspective, no matter how much money you put in there, of course, 100% gains is absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion, in such a short space of time. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had a bit of retracement amongst this area. So actually the initial intake was up to 93, a retracement, and then back up here to 106% from that point. So it's absolutely fantastic in that aspect. And I'm really interested to see if we can obtain support around that level here that we're pointing out on the today's market day of trading, then we can start pushing up and get this kind of mentality in a reversal. Because actually the MACD and the histogram here, if I can just zoom in a bit so you know what I'm talking about, it's starting to pick up in volume. So it's really interesting. Now, just be wary that we could see some similar patterns to here, a bit of a tail off, but it's almost inconclusive to say that there's not going to be massive price fluctuations in this short period of time. But looking at this kind of like fib retracement, if you like, it does anticipate that we can really go to some good heights of here in terms of gains. So keep an eye out for this one, guys. Like I said, I will be looking at doing a full project video on this during the week. So let's wrap that up there. I'm really interested in this one. I'm going to keep a keen eye on it, and I'll add it to our coin market cap watch list, which you have a link in the description already if you want to track what we have been looking at / trading with already as well. So now we've got that one out of the way, let's jump back onto the browser. If you're enjoying this, by the way, please make sure you press that like button. It really helps the channel out massively. So let's go into this next one here. We're looking at Multivac. Now, I've had so many people requesting this one, and I have seen multiple videos of other YouTubers following this. But personally, I hadn't had too much time to add to my portfolio or cover these kind of things. But this is actually a phenomenal project, and I'm looking forward to doing an intro video to this and adding it not only to our portfolio, but also to our weekly video schedule as well. So let's definitely keep an eye on this one. It's currently available to purchase or trade on KuCoin, Gate, MEXC, which was mentioned on the previous one, and our beloved Pancake Swap as well. So let's keep an eye on those exchanges for those areas there. Price point rise is actually very good. In fact, I heard about MTV a couple of months ago. It was less than a cent, I think. So congratulations to those that did get involved early. We are tracking just under that 2 cent mark, around today's current video price of 1.8 cents. So Multivac, very interesting in terms of sharding. So this is about essentially the transformation of sharding and storage application as well. So sharding is basically breaking the data of the blockchain into smaller parts. So it's essentially boosting the efficiency and the ability to scale. Okay, so also it makes it easier to access the data, and it's kind of like similar to Dropbox and cloud systems. Okay, that's what they're trying to achieve with that aspect of taking things out of your memory in terms of your laptop and stuff. So what happens is, like with my laptop, is absolutely terrible right now. It's got so much on it, these kind of applications of OBS and stuff, streaming and whatnot, I just can't handle it. That's why I've ordered a Mac now. Okay, so it's coming. We're going to enhance the channel. Thank you. So it's basically like when you've got all these files and things and all this processing power in your laptop, you need to try and take some of that away so that it can start, utilizing the power elsewhere. So for example, if I took all my stuff off my laptop and put it on Dropbox as an online only, I would then enhance my laptop's performance because it's not worrying about things in the back end like RAM and memory and all of this kind of thing, and CPU power, GPU power. So it's kind of like that aspect, but in more of a decentralized environment. So you're applying things like the know your customer, the proof of staking, smart contracts, things like that. So it's basically enabling the essentially more transactions, and that essentially will bring more people to the chain that these guys are helping out, but also more adoption. So it's kind of like that whole scalability aspect doesn't just work in the terms of what it's trying to do with the sharding, but it's all about the scalability of the blockchain itself being able to hold more and more people, because there's a very small percentage of the world that utilize blockchain and crypto right now. Imagine in 10 years, 20 years time, you're building these platforms today, but you need to keep developing and making sure scalability is right there, because what you don't want to do is you see things like Ethereum, for example, and different layers. They struggle now, like 5-10 years down the line already, they're struggling, and that's why gas fees are high. So it's about removing or reducing those fees making it more accessible and more transactions to be occurring. You've got the VRF model within this as well. This is really interesting. So this is around the variable. I always get the word wrong, but variable refrigerant flow, I think. So it's basically around the improvement of scalability and safely growing shards. So continuing the blockchain mechanism of safety, data, privacy, know your customer, all these things, but utilizing VRF in this attitude as well. So I'm really looking forward to doing an intro video for these guys properly during the week. It's absolutely fantastic. And if I do get some, I'm 100% getting involved in staking, because I think in a few years time, this thing is going to be absolutely phenomenal, not just in price, but the technology and the project itself as well. So as I've mentioned, it's all helping to do with processing, scalability, and sharding as well. So he's even mentioned what I think I just talked about a moment ago as well. Although this is for more mining, but it's the same principle. So let's take a look at the chart of Multivac and see where we are with this one. I'm looking forward to actually adding this to my portfolio. Now that I've done the research, and again, thank you so much to those that have brought this to my attention. In fact, this one in particular was mentioned, I think, on our Twitter. So it's good to see all our platforms being utilized. Do get involved in those as you go along for sure. So let's take a look at this then. So what we've got observation wise, since the top end of Multivac, we have had a slight decrease here, but we've now retraced back to new price discovery levels and new all-time highs. So the current all-time high, which I haven't lazily drawn in yet, so let's just put that in there. So we're looking at a current existing high of around about 0.024. So it's been absolutely phenomenal growth really from the initial stages. When I first heard about it, I think it was around May. So it was definitely, it was definitely below a cent. I remember that, and I thank Cheeky Crypto, I think, for mentioning this. And usually I jump on board to things they say, but like I said, I've got so many things in my portfolio. It's just not something I could keep adding, you know. You can't spread yourself too thin, right? So let's just take this point here from around the 20th, 21st July. It's always a usual point that we pick out on most charts because of that being the lowest point of the retracements that we saw from the earlier rises around March, April time in the year, this year. So that's a nice, healthy, nearly enough 800% increase. Since then, we've had a bit of stabilization, which is always good to see in healthy projects like this. What you don't want to see is parabolic rises and then no sort of intuition of potential slight corrections. But we have had that a lot along the way, which is really nice and healthy to see. What I would say about this, though, is where you've got this big move around April time, kind of like from around what, 1/10 of a cent, all the way up to this point here, for example, at 1.8 cents. Again, the tail offs are quite good, but that we're still lacking in history of potential support levels. So just bear that in mind as we go along, that albeit that we could move into a big, nice bullish momentum in the next few months, as they say, we're going into the big bull market, do anticipate, you know, we haven't tested certain levels properly yet. So just keep that in mind. I'll just draw a few in here that are kind of applicable in my mind to that kind of point, particularly around this area, and arguably from the sort of drop throughs and the rising points around here. So let's just keep an eye on these channels here. We'll cover this properly in the video during the week. As I said, we will do for all these big top projects for sure. So price wise, what are we looking at here? We're looking at trying to get this support level of 1.7 cents. We've had the dip down below it today. Let's just zoom in so you can see that a bit clearer. I have overlapped two fib retracement charts. There's a reason for that. One from the long-term aspect and two from a macro level. So you can actually see the levels that we are looking at here in this little channel, if you can see it, is very, very interesting to see. So if we can break this little area here between 1.7 and 1.84, this is where we see a close and some stability sideways before another push up potentially to this 2.1 cent area. And then arguably, I believe in the middle of October, certainly the third week of October, we will be hopefully getting through that previous all-time high, which we hit, I believe it was on the 5th of September, with the high of 2.49 cents. I don't see an issue with us going past that over the next couple of weeks' time. But like I said, it's all about these support levels. It's clear in my mind right now that the volumes have come in because of the confidence in this project, what it's about. It's almost like Harmony One, in my opinion, in that sense, of its earliness. And to be fair, a lot of YouTubers and people have followed Harmony One and MTV for longer than I have, and certainly MTV for me. This is the first time I looked at it properly. We'll always admit to those things, and we love to learn and grow along the way with you guys. But yeah, we will definitely do an intro video on this, but I'm really excited about this project. And actually this price point is quite nice. It's like when I had VeChain at the beginning of the year, or certainly early last year when it was like 1 cent or something. And of course we've had the big gains and growth spurts since then. So it's gonna be really interesting to see that. We'll do a price prediction in the project video as well. But yeah, we're clearly looking at trying to obtain that support level around the 0.018 mark to push up to that next level of around 2 cents. Like I said, I think over the next week or so, we'll start pushing that all-time high again. Because I do like this pattern that we see where we have a nice gain pattern. We have a bit of a correction, but it's more of like a sideways stabilized correction to confirm new support lines. And that's what we're doing across the board. So I'm really excited about this one. RSI is very middle based, so it's kind of in limbo at the moment. So I might be possibly waiting for confirmation of this stability line. The wick isn't gigantic, and the bearish momentum is still occurring on this MACD, if you can see, both on the line here and on the histogram. So I'm just going to wait slightly. I might even put a cheeky buy order in around this area here, maybe 1.6 to 1.5. See if we test this area again before we bounce back up to that maybe 0.027 mark. That would be a really nice one to achieve, I think, in my opinion. But we need to break these two barriers first. One, we got to the new all-time high on the 5th of September, and the 19th of September we tried but could not reach it. So let's keep an eye on that, guys. I'm really interested in this one. Thank you again to the community for bringing this one to our attention, and we will now transfer our information across to the next crypto asset, guys. So the next one on our list is Trias. Okay, now Trias is very interesting. It used to be Tri on the exchange. It's now TRIAS. Some really phenomenal things going on here. 3 layers that they're putting into place right now: Leviathan, I think, Prometh and Mag Carter. So there's a bit of information here. There's quite a lot of big words here, but yeah, of course we've got the DAG programs. There's quite a few of those building at the moment. So integration of trusted execution environments, consensus graph and graph computing algorithm for Ethereum and Hyperledgers. Prometh is a combination of formal verification, DevSecOps, and Mag Carter consensus orientated programming paradigm to achieve embedded and self-defined consensus strategy for iHolder enterprise data. Basically, guys, I'm gonna have to do a big project video on this because there's so many things I need to learn about this project, but I have a top overview here for you guys. These guys are very involved in DSAAS, so you may have seen SAAS many times, and it has various different definitions, but in this particular item it stands for decentralized software as a service. So they're trying to basically obtain the fact that there's no single point of failure within this system. Okay, and they're very heavily involved in PC, mobile, IoT, etc. It kind of falls in line with some of the assets that we talked about recently, like IOTA, IoTX, all those kind of AI algorithm ones, more around the autonomous systems and machine-to-machine learning. But at this current stage, of course, it's around human-to-machine learning, because we need to teach these machines what to do, not to do, and make sure that trust element is put in there. And that's where these guys come in, hence the trustworthy and reliable, intelligent, autonomous systems. Okay, so this project, in my opinion, is going to be absolutely huge as time goes by. And you know I love AI and IoT application and projects, and this one, from what I've been reading so far without the jargon, is that this is very much in place with all those things I've just mentioned, as well as some other really strange things, including some very strange gaming world, which we'll go on to in a second. But it's a ledger-based integrated smart contract and DSAAS trusted cloud infrastructure. Okay, so it's trying to build this within the cloud infrastructure, but in a decentralized format, similar to kind of like what MTV was doing, but more around this kind of aspect of autonomous application. So when I talk about AI, I'm talking about things like anything and everything you could possibly think of, utilizing know your customer, smart contracts, tokenization to ensure an infrastructure of smart grid, smart application, IoT and AI working together. Okay, it's a phenomenal package that these guys are looking towards. I think there's 10 million Trias in supply. There's over 40 patents these guys have. Absolutely phenomenal. And I'm really interested in that. It's definitely something I'm going to be adding to my portfolio. We'll go on to the price in a second. But let's look at that actually. On KuCoin and PancakeSwap, it's available. $6.7576-ish is at the current price. USDT pairing, but also BUSD pairing via PancakeSwap on there as well. I'm pretty sure it's based on the Ethereum chain at the moment, but I'm sure that will develop as time goes on, as they want to scale up maybe and make that a bit more accessible to other people. But yeah, KuCoin is obviously a safe bet in terms of exchange. I use it a lot. So 30% of that supply is going towards the mining, 13% to the ecosystem. And we'll go into this project in more detail about how the tokenomics works. But I think it's quite interesting. By 2024, majority of the application of the tokens across the board will be sorted as well. Q4 2021, their mainnet is launched. And also Q3 as to now, of course, the testnet and their Magna Carta 1.0 version is in play. Now, we've gone through the 3 levels that we just spoke about also. But yeah, as I said, this is very much around trust in machines. This is kind of like the pinnacle point of the structure of making machine-to-machine learning possible and automation autonomous without human interaction. As I said, it's very much trying to get around that whole point of there is not one point of failure. And that's the whole point of machine-to-machine learning, is that it works itself out. But this is a critical stage to ensure that machines know what they're doing. And when they eventually take over, I'm not talking about robots and stuff, but I do believe that will probably happen one day. But when they eventually take over from a majority of human work and application and lifestyle, etc., they need to know the trust element. How far can they push this before? I mean, they might start learning things themselves, like in iRobot, and just take over the world. Who knows? But you need this emphasis in there. So it's a really important project, and I'm really excited about it as well. Let's try and take a look at the chart for this as well, whilst we are here. So let's look at where we are with this. Okay, so Trias, we have got some interesting movement here. It's when people go about price, they always go, oh, it's cheap or it's expensive. Look, take away the price, think about the supply mechanism, but more importantly, think about the project. Okay, we talk about IOTA and Fetch AI and all of these kind of applications. This is, like I said, this is the bridging platform essentially to get to the point of where they are trying to get to. So it's really important key aspect of the life cycle of machine. Okay, and we're talking about machine, AI, algorithm, autonomous, IoT, all of this cool stuff. So we had an all-time high back here around the 9th and 10th of May. We had a big retracement of around 92% to that key point, 20th, 21st July. That was a good indicator on the MACD to switch back over into a bullish momentum, as did most crypto assets at this point. We got to around about the point of 25th of August where we started really pushing that buy-in volume to the max, to the point where it was taking too much. And we've had a slight gradual decrease in the volumes going in, which has led to a bit of a sell-off for people who have maybe the weak hands, because I think this project is going places, guys. That previous all-time high, by the way, was approximately $32. This fib retracement, and we'll go into more detail in the project video, is suggesting that it could go well above the $100 mark, guys, in maybe even in this run. Are we in a position to make that a concrete prediction? Let's find out during the week, but I'm liking what I see so far. Why am I? Because we're seeing good support areas. We had this big massive jump up, which was a bit of a concern to me, but actually we've retraced so much that we've come back down to include that actually this is a good support line. And now we've risen to these areas here. In fact, what I'm going to do is just draw a few areas of interest, in my opinion, of where we are seeing some key levels of support. So we've obviously got a lot of tails down around this area as well. Is it linking up much with any of this? kind of, I'm just going to put one there anyway, just to take a look at in the next video as a point of reference. But what we're looking to try and achieve here is a support line of around about this $6.82. Okay, today we were doing well with that. Yesterday we had the big retracement. That was a bit more of the Bitcoin nonsense FUD trying to shake people out. It didn't really work with this project. It did here on this Bitcoin day and this Bitcoin day, but not enough in my opinion. I think it's showing the massive strength behind this project and the excitement behind it. It's almost reminded me of an equivalent in energy tokens of like EWT, how it's applying itself to real world scenarios and what's to come. And it's also actually quite a similar price point, not too far off, maybe a few dollars out. But yeah, we're looking at trying to get that support of around $6.72. Today it's looking positive. However, like I said, this kind of volume coming in is weakened slightly, so I'm a bit cautious of that. Let's just zoom into the MACD aspect down here. So we're still in a bearish momentum. However, ignore this kind of another Bitcoin nonsense day here. We are seeing the narrowing slightly, so it's really interesting to see how that develops. RSI wise, it's quite low in my opinion. If you were to buy, it was probably a really good time around 21st of September, but I still think in the long term this is a great opportunity of price point. This area here is touched upon quite a few times. There is an opportunity. I will actually put myself a buy opportunity perhaps around just under the $6 mark, so maybe 5.97. I'm going to look at that in more detail in the next video, but just in case we have a drop down to try and test these support lines as well, because we are still in the bearish movements of the MACD and other aspects of the chart as well, it's always worth having a think about that to save yourself. You could save yourself like nearly $1, which is quite phenomenal, because every 10, that's great. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. We'll pick it up in the next video, but I'm really bullish on this project. From what I've been reading and everything I've seen, it is absolutely phenomenal. And also do go check out the game as well, which is very interesting. Let's just jump back onto the browser before I forget. So we've got Triathlon Space. Okay, we're going to cover this in the next video project. But yeah, I'm very intrigued by this. 4D systems, tokenomics of buying, selling, etc. Metaverse basically in a nice space environment. So we'll come back to that in the video, but I wanted to tease you guys with this incredible game that's coming properly soon. Guys, let's go into the next crypto asset. It's Kobach token. I won't focus too massively on this. This is very much an app-based crypto platform. 300,000 downloads of the app have occurred so far. So this is around, it's kind of like KSC and BNB, that sort of aspect of the exchange. It's currently available via Gate, Uniswap, Upbit, and MEXC. So it's actually, I believe, Korean exchange. So it's worth keeping an eye on. I'll just have to refresh the page because for some reason it's gone blank. Let's go back to here a second. So it's currently available to purchase in pairings of the likes of USDT, Ethereum, KRW as well, and BTC. So there's a multitude of options here. I have to press the translate button because I'm sorry, I can't read Korean, but I'm not too overly impressed by this layout. But that's not to say that it won't develop over time. Obviously 300,000 people believe in this project, so it's really of interest to keep an eye out for it. And there's some really good partnerships coming throughout this as well, in terms of where you can purchase and also the exchanges it's working with. So these guys are very much using this tokenomics around internal payment tokens, helping with member benefits, unlocking rewards, all this kind of stuff that you see in multiple other exchanges. So I'm going to keep my eye on this one for sure. This is on the exchange you are looking for CBK. Okay, CBK on the exchange. Unfortunately, we don't have a much more information on this. I do need to do a bit more research, but I'm throwing it out there because I think, it doesn't matter. You think about the mainstream exchanges, but there's going to be more and more of these kind of exchanges coming out, of course. So it's always worth having a keen eye on up and coming ones, especially ones that have nice tokenomics like we just mentioned. But let's go into the chart while we've got some time on this one. So we are looking here currently at a price point of around about 1.2 cents. Historically, it's been doing similar patterns to other previous tokens. We had an all-time high of 4 cents. So in my opinion, albeit that this exchange is not spoken of much, it has had good movements from price perspective. So that was an 82% reduction from that high point up until this point around the 20th of July, where we hit the bottom price of we hit the bottom price of a seventh of a cent. Since then, we have tracked back up 197% up to this recent high of 2.3 cents. We're currently tracked around, as I mentioned, 1.2 cents. So there's a bit of stability needed in the next few days. In my opinion, we need to try and get back to the support line of 1.3 cents or 1.38 cents in that aspect as well. We need to do that so we can try pushing back up, and I'm sure throughout the bull momentum of the next couple of months we will get there. But of course, we've had some attempts in the last 4 or 5 days to drop back down to this previous support level of 0.11, and it's kind of rejected that on a number of occasions. So it's really down to the next 2-3 days, in my opinion, to see if we can track back up here or if the bearish momentum will continue. On the MACD, it has been very wavy, so it's really in a limbo moment as to what it wants to do. The RSI is tracked very low, so not financial advice, but in my opinion, if you're after CBK, it could be a good opportunity to purchase. And one thing I do want to add actually is because for some reason on here, it doesn't mention some of the other exchanges. And this one I'm looking at Binance data. So apologies for missing Binance off that. I think CoinMarketCap need to update it. I'll probably drop them a message shortly about that as well. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, as I said, the exchange is, to be fair, I'm guessing if you're in Korea, it's a lot easier. For me, it's quite a bit all over the place. It's not something that I would be utilizing myself right now. But as an investor, as of course the Korean market is gigantic, the apps are obviously clearly downloading in their hundreds of thousands. It is something that I might be interested in because I do hold things like KCS and Crow and also some BNB, and we can see the development of that. Not necessarily this year, massive growth, but certainly in years to come as adoption occurs. It is certainly things that you want to think about as tokenomics improves and the utilization of them on these different exchanges improve as well. So hopefully we've learned a tiny bit there about Kobach. Definitely keep your eye on it. I think it is definitely of interest, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it pushes forwards. So let's take a look at Oasis Foundation as the next asset. So we've got here rows on the exchange: Binance, KuCoin, Gate, and ZB.com. Not heard of them until just now to see if you want to obtain this token at all. And we will look at the chart in a second anyway. But this is very much around a privacy driven blockchain, so very much heavily involved in the private sector of smart contracts, token data, scalability, and also introducing private lending and loan applications, as well as an automated market maker application to the likes of some of the exchanges. So I do really like the parallel smart contract layers aspect. There's a multitude of information on their website. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll do a bit more information on the Paratime when we do a proper intro project video for this one later this week. But I'm very interested in the consensus layer, and I'm very interested in the staking opportunities that are available through the Rose token as well. So the Rose token itself, 1.5 billion tokens, total cap fixed at 10 billion tokens. So that's going to be interesting on the price fluctuation over the years. Very much used for transaction fees, staking, and delegation on the consensus layer. So I'm very looking forward to opening up a piece of the information in the project video about staking and what kind of rewards you can get. We'll also have a look at the validator results also. So approximately 2.3 billion tokens will be automatically distributed on chain as staking rewards to stakers and delegators for securing the network over time. Really excited about looking at that, and of course helps develop the project further. And one thing I did like as well, you can store it on the ledger. So if you're on the bear market, you can do that. But they are heavily involved in a lot of big companies here. Winklevoss Capital, interesting to see if they're doing anything with Gemini. Polychain Capital is massive as well, and there's a few exchanges listed here as well. And you've got things like Salesforce, absolutely gigantic software company, and a few other big ones there as well. So like I said, I'm looking forward to doing the big project video on here as to more detail of how the Oasis Foundation is occurring. Layer 1 proof of stake, paratime layer. I will love to include an information piece on paratime layer in that video as well. So very much again about scalability being one of the key aspects of this project to ensure that the blockchain can obtain multitude of people and companies as it grows over time. And we'll go into this bit in more detail. So I'm really interested in this, and I really like the privacy data aspect. This is obviously a big thing, especially if you go into a private sector audience. This is the sort of thing that they're really interested to know as time goes by. So guys, let's jump into the chart. As I said, I will do a proper video on these guys as we move forward. So this is Rose USDT. It's covering a nice little tracking process. If you are interested, we've gone from this drop down here around the 23rd of June or 20th of June with a nice rise up over a 2-3 month period to the 8th of September, I think it was, an all-time high of an all-time high of 36.4 cents. We've retraced since then to approximately 57%. We're currently trading around 16.7 cents. So that is interesting movements. On the weekly, we are 30% down, but we've had a few Bitcoin announcements in that time to push that. But on the monthly and the year to date, very positive, 74% and 302% respectively. 12% down in 6 months, but that does entail a bit of a tail off after the sort of March, April time trading as well. The MACD is still in a bearish momentum for this one. The RSI is sitting around a good buying opportunity. It's not financial advice, but I would be happy personally to be trying to obtain some of this. So I will be looking at this token and probably adding it to my portfolio because it looks of great interest. And thank you to the person or persons that have introduced this one to us. Currently trying to obtain a support line here around 16 cents. It looks like over the last few days we tried to retrace that to lower levels of around about 15.4 cents. We've had a bit of rejection on that period, so we're definitely looking at this particular line of 16.6 cents. If we can get a close over that today and some sideways movement, hopefully a bit of volume will kick in as confidence grows, and we might start pushing back up to that 20 cent mark and then on to 23 as well over the next few weeks. By the time mid-October and the end of October, I do anticipate that we would hopefully be back smashing through that all-time high and arguably pushing to try and break that 40 cents and get a support line maybe around 41 or 42 cents before some next level price discovery. Do you know what I mean? So it'd be really exciting to see how that goes. We'll cover all this properly in the big project video, but I'm really interested in this project. Very, very interesting indeed. And we will definitely cover that in a few days' time. Other observation quickly, as we said, MACD is in the bearish momentum at the moment. The gap is very level, so I do anticipate this is make or break in the next few days as to whether we will break down into testing once again the 15.6 level, or even dropping slightly further down to perhaps 13.3-ish cents to retest that other previous level. But the also to note is the selling volume is still very level as well. So if we can start getting a pale on the histogram, pale red, that might be a good bullish sign that we are entering October into a format where we might start picking up some good volume intake to this particular project. So really good stuff, guys. Looking forward to adding that to my portfolio list, and let us know what you think in the comments below. So finally, the last one. We're at the last leg of this video. Hopefully you're still with us. LCX, guys. So LCX, unfortunately, I only have an Ethereum paired chart, which is a bit annoying, but we have done our best to try and organize this into a USD format for everyone. So LCX is very much an exchange for crypto, similar to many of the others out there. So as well, a good focus on NFTs. The token is essentially used as the kind of like the for the aspect of transactions, the fees, the rewards, the staking, pretty much as we just mentioned with other exchanges and things like that. What I did like about this, if you have a look or get some time to scan through, they do have some good partnerships with the likes of Chainlink, Monerium, and there's a few other big names on there as well. Chainlink, for example, using that for the credible references for price. They use Icon, for example, security infrastructure on tokens. Monerium is used as the digital money aspect. So there's loads of stuff going on in the background that these guys have partnered with. By 2027, more than $8 trillion will be stored on blockchain networks. Fully agree with that. By the way, a note here from the World Economic Forum. They are actually a member of this. So when I spoke about many videos over the time about assets and blockchains that are involved with the World Economic Forum, it's 100% something you should be looking at as a potential portfolio integration of yours. So I think it's of great interest, this project. I'm looking forward to doing a big video on this one as well. The token helps reduce fees in the exchange of up to 50%. As I mentioned, it helps with the rewards and the staking. So very much like KCS, Crow, BNB, the one we mentioned earlier as well, on Kobach with CBK. So there's some really good positive attributes to this project, but I'm really interested to see how this develops. Of course, the trading platform looks very professional. I would like to see a bit more enhancement on this one, but it's always one of those ones where you think, oh, it doesn't look like much, but it's probably one of those ones that's going to absolutely explode because of the partnerships and the interlacing that it has with a multitude of memberships and things like that. It's certainly something that might just be a sleeping token and might just go absolutely parabolic one day, as you know, investors and institutions start utilizing this kind of platform more than they do with the perhaps retail exchanges that you utilize, like Binance and Qcoin, etc. So really interested in this project of how it pushes forward. Again, it will be definitely something that we look at in more detail as we move forwards. I'll just be interested to see, actually, while we're here, if they have any pairing on their actual website themselves in relation to the dollar, which I don't think I can see any. And if they do, fantastic. If not, we'll have to work out another way to show you this token properly. There's a lot of different random... Here we go. Let's try this one. Okay, cool. This will be something to work with if you give me a few seconds, guys. So here we are. USD. Okay, cool. So yeah, 14.59. Let's just confirm that that is definitely correct. 14 point something. Yep, cool. Well, let's just utilize this. Obviously, a lot of incremental data missing because this is such a new project and there's not a gigantic amount of volumes going in. So this is why I'm saying it's an interesting one for the future, and it could be a sleeper one until the integration and the adoption really kicks in. So I'm really interested to see how this operates moving forward. We'll do an intro video to it. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll do a proper analysis on the chart as well, because right now, as you can see on my page right now, is this is kind of thing I've got to deal with on this particular token here, but because it's wrapped to ETH, yeah, it's not something I can really conclude for you guys in an easy format, other than the fact that it's obviously had some really good moves, including since that drop in around July time. It's actually risen 476% in that wrapped ETH point. So there is a good movement on this chart, but it's something, again, I'll do a proper video on in the week, so keep an eye out for that. But it's just worth adding to the attention. It's something that someone mentioned, so I'm really interested to see how that develops. And the interesting thing as well is it's 14 cents already. There's a lot of projects with tokenization of this kind of aspect on a lot less than that, so definitely one to keep an eye on. So guys, that's pretty much wrapped up the first episode of this project. I'm sorry it's maybe gone on for so long. It's nearly an hour's worth of video. It's going to take probably an age to add this to YouTube, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. But what we will do, let us know in the comments below if you want us to improve it in any way or any aspect of that, and keep adding to the transition of what you want us to include in the next People's Crypto episode. I'm really interested what you guys come up with. We didn't cover B Pro and XRP, which was added to the list from a couple of our members. That's because we cover that on a regular basis anyway. But yeah, it's certainly something, if we have time to slot it in the next week's one, we definitely will. But guys, hope you enjoyed this. Please do like the video if you found it informative, and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. And as I said, we've got timestamps in here, so you don't have to listen to this whole caboodle. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you think about it, and we'll do another one next week if you think it was of interest. Thank you very much, and look out for the bigger project videos we have coming up on each of these individual projects as we go along. Thanks very much. Bye bye.